Everybody, welcome back. This is Jason Hardy with EliteBBQ Smokers, and this is the Barbecue Roundtable. We got a great group of guests lined up tonight. So we talk a lot of fun. You hear some backstories. You might even hear some secret recipes about some pizzas and different things. So all that being stated, I'm going to bring in guests tonight, let them do themselves, and we're going to have a good conversation. One thing real quick, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, and share the page. If you haven't yet, go to the YouTube side of it. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you got any questions, again, please ask. But again, please share this page. Appreciate it. Let's bring everybody in. We're rearranging some screens here. All right, Kevlar, y'all on the ticket, so y'all start introduce yourselves.
I'm Kevin LaRocque, head pitmaster, Kevlar Barbecue, and this is Matt Brennan. He is my pitmaster. He runs my pit.
I run pit. We had a joke about that earlier. Yeah, Matt Brennan here. I cook with Kevin on the team.
He chooses every bite or every piece of meat that goes in the box too, so that's a pretty darn good,
important task to have.
Right.
Very important task to have. Me and my wife cook together, and it's very important to have a second opinion because sometimes it just needs a little bit of salt. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I focus on the turn ends, the building the boxes and all that, and last thing I need to do is set the knife down, and so he's got a great palate. He's got a better palate than me, and he can pull up some good stuff.
That is awesome. Justin, introduce yourself, boss man.
Yep, Justin Holt Brothers Barbecue out of Charlotte.
Cool. So we got some talk about the GCs this weekend, but before we get in all of that, let's get kind of a backstory to this. So one of the questions we love to ask and get a kind of how you got into barbecue is basically kind of where did you get the passion for cooking? Did you grow up like I did, hunting and fishing and just cooking around a campfire with the hunting club or whatever? How did y'all get into cooking? And not in barbecue, just cooking in general.
Well, I started when I moved to this house. I'd have a yearly party. I'd have an ice luge party around 4th of July. So I went out and bought a char griller smoker from Lowe's. $189, I think, with the added side smoker on it. And I smoked for my parties. And then I won a guest judging spot at a rib burn that Steve Coddington, Bubba, I don't know if you know Steve Coddington from up here in Michigan.
Not to my knowledge.
He ran a rib burn, and they were looking for a couple guest judges, and I won the online thing. So I judged, and I never knew that there was a competition. And the next year, I joined my first KCBS 4-meat comp in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and I took dead ass last.
Wait. You started out the gate DAL.
Yes, but I learned. I didn't
go up from there.
I didn't know there was a flavor profile that the judges were looking for. I was cooking my smoked meats that I've always cooked, and everybody comes to my parties and loves. But I'm
just saying,
I learned a lot.
That's the one thing whenever you actually can go into contests, and one of the things we always be like, you don't want to go dead ass last. You don't want to get that. I mean, you go into a contest and you're like, all right, whatever it is, just please, Lord, don't let me be DAL. But in your situation, you started out that way, so that's behind you. So you ain't got to worry about that hurdle no more. You've already.
I did it one more time.
Oh Lord.
Remember the Sam's Club tournament?
Yeah.
I went to the semifinals, so I was with the 29 other teams that were the best in each region.
Yep.
And I finished dead ass last. And it was a long drive home, but by the time I got home, I realized I was against 29 awesome cooks. So it wasn't that bad.
It didn't.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation.
What's that?
I mean, that's a whole different conversation. That DAL is kind of like, okay, these guys have won. So one wonderful thing about Sam's Club is, if y'all don't know what Sam's Club is, the way Sam's Club worked is they would have contests in different parts of the country. And if you got in the top, I think it was top 5 or something like that.
Top 6.
It was top 6. You got advanced from there until the semifinals. And the semifinals were then you go in there and you top so many from there, move to the finals. and they were paying out 50 grand, I think, at 1 year. But
50,
everybody from all over the place would show up and cook this contest. And so you make it to the second round, you're going to have the top 6, like 6 different contests showing up to cook this contest. And it was just, like I said, Child said it's Wolf Revenge, best winter COVID year. It's like getting a boxing match in a phone booth. I mean, because everybody's cooking is just so strong, it's hard to get your head above water. But
I had good turn-ins. It just, it is what it was.
We've seen ups and downs like that in big shows too. You're right. You get in there with everybody. You have a bad table.
Can't win everyone.
And not a solid turn-in on a day like that. And boom. I mean, you look at the score sheet and you're like, whoa.
Yep.
But then you realize who you just cooked against. And that's why that happened.
It is. And one thing I learned several years ago that I had to start asking myself these questions because, like I said, it's the East Coast right here, and we're cooking against the same people every contest. So, I mean, it's kind of for the most. What the heck happened there? So it's kind of like the same people every time. And I just had to start asking myself the question: would I turn this again tomorrow? Would I take this same food, same flavor profile? Would I turn it again tomorrow or next week? And be critical of it because that's what you got to do. Because if not, it'll drive yourself crazy.
Isn't it so hard to change though? I mean, you change too much, you never remember what you started at.
Well, I am a OCD note taker, so I got notes every contest I've done back to 2010.
Nice.
I can tell you the recipe I've done. I can tell you just the little things about it because I just take notes like that because that's what I wanted to do. So I got plenty of notes. And that's been a very good help to me. This year's a little bit different with me because our focus has been a little more on the YouTube side rather than competition side. And so my goal is this year to go to every contest and run a completely new recipe. Just completely different recipe every contest and just kind of just see what happens. And it's wild just to do that. And it really kind of helps you focus a little more on the tenderness side of it. Truly does focus on the tenderness side of it. But that's been our goal this year. Justin's going through pictures like crazy down there.
Trying to find it. My room's so messy. I don't want to show
Well, he's showing off.
Well, I didn't know we could do that.
Now I'm peeking. Look what's going on here.
I'm sticking with the roots.
I got a movie going on here.
Going back to your original question too, like for me, getting into barbecue and cooking it was hunting and fishing, cooking around the fire, cooking with fire. That was always the thing, watching, meat burning on a grill, big old steaks, after a long nice hunt. But I met Kevin a long time ago, actually, really through like a work relationship, more or less. And we do business together. And I bought a smoker and I had questions and I'd start hitting him up because I'd see on Facebook he was into barbecuing. And he invited me to a rib burn one day. You talk about relating to people that are getting into barbecue, right? So the pictures of me at the rib burn were of taking pictures of him all day long. I was like, this is amazing. You put butter and brown sugar on everything and it's going to be awesome. It just smelled good. But my biggest takeaway was meeting the people. Like I met some really cool people that day and I saw all these different cookers and all this stuff. And it was just a rib burn. It was at the Woodpile Barbecue Shack. They did these rib burns. And then you invited me to KCBS comp. That was Auburn Hills.
Auburn Hills. The same one I did 5 years before.
I think I remember we did, okay there. I think we got maybe a call or something, but overall wise, it was what it was. But I was like, okay, and we were cooking out of a totally different setup. So I was sleeping in the truck. I might even ran home that night because we were that close to actually do a comp. It was pouring rain, but you would sleep right on the trailer with tarps and stuff over him. You had just laid out.
I had a Myron Mixon gravity feed 60 or 72, huge,
on an open wing trailer. And I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? But this is so fun and this is so cool. And I'm meeting all these people and I'm drinking beer. We're doing a 9:22 a.m. shot. Holy smokes, and so we cooked all year together and we got back to the fall side of the Woodpile Barbecue Shack rib burn. And Kevin says, you're going to cook it and you're going to cook it on your own. And I was kind of scared of the crap out of me. I don't know what we're allowed to say on here. I got a really bad mouth, so I'm going to watch it. But And I went to that rib burn, and based on cooking with him and what I learned from Kevin, I won my very first rib burn ever
Against me.
against him.
Wow.
And a lot of other really good rib cooks in our area. And I had was over. We've been in ever since. Some of the things we've done, the places we've gone, the people we've met and cooked next to, and I mean, we got stories we can get into cooking next to Brad at Chicagoland, the butter. But I just had so much fun. Like this last weekend, this GC, still riding the high. I promise. This is a whole other Kevlar barbecue shirt. I just wanted to wear it with the sponsors that are generous to us, but.
Nice plug.
Yeah, nice plug for those guys. But just riding that high, walking in the Monday at work, your chest is a little out because you just won a GC, and we did it in a hell of a way. We accomplished some goals that we had in barbecue, and it's just been a cool ride with this guy, man. We've been all over the place doing this stuff. A lot of windshield time talking about life.
Cheers. Boom.
Good story.
Cheers.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Oh, you good. I think that's kind of like talking about people at work, about walking in the office, being kind of riding high, win a GC contest. It's kind of very humbling when you do that because they know you do contests, but you go in there so many times and they don't understand that I'm really excited to get a third place brisket call. I mean, it's just they nobody understands that until you've been through the grind. You're like, man, if I get 4 top 10 calls, I'm happy. And until you've been into this little world of insanity, it's just hard to appreciate that. And when you actually win a GC, you're on cloud 9, but everybody else like, okay, congratulations. It's gonna be like, fly a kite, man.
I remember our first GC. People were lined up for. I mean, we hugged. We didn't even get onto the stage to get our trophy. It took probably 15 minutes to get to there because everybody was just so happy.
We were all over. I mean, we've seen calls high and low. High end. We've traveled afar and not done well plenty of times. We're far from other teams that you've had on this podcast, sure, before. But yeah, we've seen the highs and the lows. It just feels that
we got
that
4
much
now.
better.
We got 4 GCs
That's right.
now.
But we have a great barbecue community up here in this area. And when I started barbecuing, it was guys like Rich Parker, IBQing, and Mark Rasmussen, the real smoking aces, and Tom Summers, Bad Habit. These guys were winning all these comps we were going to, and it was like, man, what are they doing? What are they doing in there? And we kept grinding, and it's really Kevin, man. He's the one that puts it all into it, has invested the time and gone to the classes, and I've benefited from a lot of his hard work, to be honest with you, like my personal success barbecuing.
So you should pay me half for those classes, right?
Right? I probably owe him by now.
I ain't never old. There's notes. This thing goes in a lot of ebbs and flows, man. It'll come back around one day.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how, for example, here, the recipe I run last weekend, one I hadn't run in 6 years. It's just kind of put it back in there, and it seemed to do decent down there. So, I mean, it's just the whole thing changes in there. But again, I think this contest right now is a whole lot more tenderness than it used to be. I think tenderness is a lot more critical today than it used to be. A lot more flavor than it used to be. But I think right now, tenderness is carrying a lot more weight in there from what I've seen and talked with different people in judges and everything else. I think tenderness is a little bit differently. I mean, what do y'all think about that?
I'd say
So with the new, go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I definitely second that. I got a couple comments this weekend about tenderness and got high flavor scores and high appearance. And that was the one thing that dropped me down a couple positions on a couple meats. So, yeah, I think tenderness is the name of the game right now. Because you got to kind of think like I think long gone are the days where you're going to get a lot of different flavor profiles. Like we're all kind of using the same stuff, maybe a little bit different mixtures, maybe a little bit different on the smoke side of things. But I mean, it's kind of leveled off to, we're all using Heath Ryle stuff, we're all using Blues Hog mostly. So, the flavor thing, they kind of know what they're looking for, at least in my opinion.
I agree with that. I agree with a lot of that, Justin.
There you go. Nice
hat.
hat.
We're doing a NASCAR thing here.
Yeah, when all those things equalize, when every box coming across the table is beautiful, it's all nines. Everything kind of tastes, somewhat similar and has a similar balance. Then the only thing left to differentiate what the best on the table and the worst is the tenderness.
You're right on that, 100%.
But the meat's changed so much too, though. It's allowed, the Australian Wagyu versus, the American Wagyu, and now, Tim with his Marble Ridge, that's another. Just there's so many choices. Back before it used to be, maybe Wagyu, but mostly prime. So
I would say I agree. And you brought up like NASCAR, and I've told Kevin a lot lately. It's like restrictor plate racing almost. Everybody's running Wagyu, and everybody's they got a holder and all this stuff going on, and it's like, some of me sometimes I'm like, maybe we should get a little back away from this and get more just towards let's barbecue. But man, if you want to win and you want to get in there, and I know guys that do good and they get calls with the primes. But, like, man, if you're not running Wagyu right now, you got to spend that money on that brisket. It hurts. You got to use your leftovers. I'll tell you that. Make sausage and stuff.
Well, kind of a point on that is, so during the COVID years, we had a Recteq series down here in the Carolinas running stuff. And so Lee Hickle, he would come down and he had a Texas guy coming cooking. And he's done very well. Him and LC Barbecue done very well over here. And their flavor profiles were just a little bit different. Now, they were hitting tenderness and stuff. So, they were cooking good barbecue. I didn't take anything away from cooking good barbecue. But the thing is, they were just a little bit different. Now, on some contests that killed them. On some contests that made them heroes. It's heroes or zeros. Depending on what day of the week it is. But sometimes just a little bit something a little bit different that's going to catch your mind. It is a good thing, but I'll all kind of hesitate that and go back to what Donnie Brace said one time in class. He says, you don't want to use something other that's peachy flavor in your injection because you may love peach, but somebody sitting at the table may hate peach. So you're going to have one person who's going to really give you a high score and one person give you a low score. So you need your barbecue to be along the middle line. And I think that's the biggest thing with all of us fight is that we love our barbecue. We cook good barbecue. But sometimes you like, am I hitting everybody or am I just hitting my taste?
Right.
I suggested a 1-rack rib burn on a Friday night before a comp. I think that'd be fun. Going back to one, like an Ironman thing. 1 rack, 6 bones.
Don't screw it up.
I think that'd be awesome. What I think would even make that even better is if you done like a Friday night thing and you said the pit master from each contest, each team had to judge the entries. So you turn your ribs in and you got to sit there and judge food.
We did that at a little church contest a couple of years ago. And it was actually, I can't think of the meat that we cooked. What is that they cook on the West Coast so much? Beef. Tri-tip, yeah. And so you had, and I'm telling you, it was out in the country. So I'm sure a lot of those people had never even heard the word tri-tip, much less seen one and cooked one. So you had some that was shredded. You had some that were cooked like brisket. You had some that were really, really good, cooked, almost rare. But we did that. You had to set them all out, and then you got a judge's sheet, and we all went around and sampled everybody's, and that's how the judges came in. It was unique. I thought it was pretty neat.
That's cool. That is cool. I liked it. And we had actually some local teams that got together for a practice cook, and they actually judged each other's food. It was 4 or 6 teams that got in on it, and that was kind of a neat idea because they were giving each other feedback, and it's going to be good, honest feedback. Everybody knows what they're cooking, and it was some pretty solid teams. I'll tell you that in the area, teams I would love to have, try some of our entries and say, okay, and we try to do that whenever we're cooking next to teams.
I'd score low.
While we're on the subject, I got to put my comment card I got for the ribs. Y'all keep going. I'm going to get this to work right because it's pretty funny.
Well, you mentioned the appearance. I'll tell you, we went to
Marietta.
Okay, we said the name. It's nothing. The organizers are great. God bless them. They're awesome people. But what was our brisket appearance? We got murdered on appearance down there. But there was definitely a TOD. And
it was the most beautiful
fruited,
brisket box I've ever gotten. I didn't even get a 9. I mean, I think I got a 6 in appearance.
Too fruity,
no meat flavor.
So we have.
What was that for? Your ribs?
Ribs, and we got 8th place in them. So I'll take that. Too fruity. Jason said don't put peach, and I thought because I've been using Myron's. What are his 2 flavors? Let's see. One is peach and one is apple for the injection. Yeah, and I like the flavor from it, but I mean, I'll readily admit my ribs are like candy. I mean, they are.
That's how they like them up here.
That's up here in Michigan. We cook candy ribs.
Rib candy, that's what we call it.
Yeah. So what's this straw nana rib flavor profile?
That's something that
that's between.
That's between. I know exactly who asked that question. That's kind of funny. Yeah, let's just say it was an extracurricular in a trailer with a shot or something we did. So,
what's the one thing that's really surprised y'all most about competition barbecue? I know you said you kind of got into it, kind of a little bit from a backyard perspective, cooking at home, and then kind of found out about barbecue. But you've been in it for a few years. What's the thing that surprised you most about barbecue?
The friendship.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Friendship, 100%. I mean, that's the reason why we go. We go to we don't go to sit in awards and be like, my stomach's turning, and I look at Matt every single awards. I'm like, I hate this part.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Because you think you had a good cook.
And you find out otherwise.
And you're just like, how?
And the cooks we've done our best. I'm yelling at him on some turn-ins like, yeah, like, man, this was that or this was that. And then we get a call on it, and it was like, I'll tell you, we got a 2nd place chicken at the Jack because we like to talk about that. But there was quite the argument going on in the trailer, and I was all over him, and it was just, anyways, it was during boxing, and it went fine because we got 2nd place.
When I was setting them in, I
yelled on my way out the trailer, screaming obscenities at him.
Quit finger effing the chicken. And I'm dropping the wings in between on our layout, and I was touching them with I got a bad finger from a accident a long time ago, but that thing sticks down, and I was touching it. He's like, quit finger effing the chicken.
He kept dinging the thighs. Every time he put a wing in, he'd hit a thigh and we'd have to touch it up, and
he apologized when we got back to the trailer. He just like, bro, I'm sorry.
Dude, that's something y'all needed on camera.
That would be that chicken.
Yeah, y'all needed that on camera. That would have been epically funny to watch that back and forth.
We would have had
we got the win on camera. My girlfriend and her kids were behind us, and they were videoing the back of us.
Quite the surprise.
And it was like, it was pretty cool. It's nice to have in your photo album.
So how long y'all been in competition barbecue?
Justin, how long you been doing this, man? We keep going first. I feel bad.
I have been this will be our 6th season this year. And we probably first year we did like 5, second year was like 12. I think last year we did 18, and we've got 24 on the schedule this year.
Nice.
Wow. May increase to 26, but my wife's going to kill me if we're on the road that much.
Yeah,
but
I want to have employment.
Nowadays, when I started, it was my brother and I, but he's kind of dropped off now, and it's my son Hollis, who's 8, and me, and we split it up between SCA and KCBS, mostly KCBS. But like next weekend, this month we've got 2 SCA contests.
Oh, awesome! You're doing it with your son. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's everybody looks forward to seeing him, and I look forward to hanging out with him all weekend. He's gotten better at helping. There's a kids queue. I mean, he's very there's one this weekend for pork chop, and he's super excited, and he does pretty good at them. I mean, to be honest with you, he won the Georgia championship in SCA this year for kids queue, which I thought was awesome. Cooked a pretty damn good New York strip to win that one. I'm pretty proud of him, though.
Nice.
Yeah. He told me he's going to start his own team.
Get him in the SCA.
Yeah. I was like, damn, so I got to buy another trailer.
Man, get him in that money.
He likes the money. I know. Like last weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, we sat the whole awards. And boy, you could see on his face, he just kept looking at me and shaking his head. He's like, "Dang, that sucked." I was like, I mean, son, sometimes that's what happened. We got some calls this week, but he keeps me on a tight schedule. That's for sure.
Well, my first comp.
Go ahead. No. I was saying that's one thing about competitions. You can't go in there and guarantee to get your name called. It's going to be
nope.
Sometimes you turn in good food and you don't get your name called. Sometimes you turn in food that you don't expect to get your name called and you get your name called.
Yep,
that's right.
Yeah, we hate our food. Every time we're making something, it's like this. We hate it.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
That's it. So
if you like it too much, it's like you're jinxing yourself.
That's right. Been there too many times.
So when did you start, Kevin?
2013 was that Auburn Hills comp, and that's the very first 4-meet KCBS state, qualifier for the Jack, and I turned everything in on time, and because I did that, I mentioned Steve Coddington earlier that had me as a guest judge. He won Barbecue Person of the Year for 2013 through Kingsford Charcoal and Stephen Reichland. So the owner of his restaurant said, "I'm going to sponsor you and go out and pick a team." And Steve picked me. So I was on Lockhart's barbecue team, traveling team for 2 years.
Nice.
For 14 and 15. That's where I got my start learning. And we cooked the Nashville National Barbecue Association against Myra Mixon, Boar's Night Out, all those guys. And it was such a learning experience. 2016, I started my own Kevlar barbecue. I did 2 comps that year. I took Heath Riles' class 2017 in January and learned a lot and cooked 7 comps in 2017. He had another class he was holding in December of 2017, and I signed up for that, and he called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to fly up. Can I have the meats shipped to you and you bring them to the class?" I said, "Heath Riles is calling me. Yeah, I'll do that." And he called me back about 10 minutes later. He goes, "Hey, I refunded your money. Just help me cook this or help me teach this class." So I was like, and ever since then, we've been good friends, and I got the sponsorship pretty much starting then. And then Matt started in 2018 with me, and we haven't looked back since. I'd like to do more comps.
But yeah, I think a lot of people love to do more comps. I just think finances is probably the biggest hindrance in there, and to track the distance. I mean, I feel like there's not as many comps there used to be. As far as there's contests, but it's like everyone you got to drive to. Used to be a few more contests, but I think us as teams are wanting to have the higher payouts, and so the smaller payout contests don't get the turnouts that they used to get.
Right.
And therefore, it's kind of you don't have as many contests. It's kind of like you gotta have huge contests, but there's no smaller contests anymore. And I think that's really been. I think it's a bad thing in one aspect of it. I understand it, but I just think it's challenging. And I also say this. For those out there, I say go work together, put on contests, but go even if you're not put on contests, go help somebody put together contests. It's really, truly eye-opening just to see what all happens with putting on the contest.
A lot of work
It's a
too.
lot. I have a rib burn on my property in January. And I mean, it's been 15 below at 7 a.m. when all the teams are coming in. And I've had 3 years of it. So what's going on?
Uh-oh, we lost.
Are you there?
Yeah,
I got you.
We went to sleep.
Yeah, we got you.
Sleep mode.
Okay. So I've had it for 3 years. The weather was great this year, but yeah, I mean, getting the judges and Mitchell Bidwell, he helped me the second year. I had sponsorships. I had rubs from Heath Riles, MW Smokers, Tennessee Mojo, Yes Deer, barbecue sauces, everything. I had the
barbecue
biggest
supply stores. I mean, it's huge.
I had a 70-pound gift bag for each team for that. Plus, it was $1,000 first place.
Nice.
I mean, I put all the money in, and I have a raffle, to make my money to pay for the Porta-John and, everything that I got to do. But every bit of the money going in, I want to attract. I mean, Heath Riles even thought about coming up this year, and he's like, "Man, $1,000." It's like, bring it on.
You know what that all comes down to, though, at the end of the day, where you're going with it, though, is it takes people wanting to do it. You need to have a spot to do it, and somebody's got to be willing to go out there and drum up sponsorships and make it attractive for people to want to come. But, we're in Michigan. We only get so many good days of the year up here with weather. And there's a guy up here, Stinky D's Barbecue, because you got to say he's the OG winter rib burn guy. He started a winter rib burn in February for people to just come out and get together in the middle of winter and cook ribs. And then Kevin did one, and we have another one on the other side of it in March. So January, February, March, we have these local rib burns up here in Southeast Michigan, and we get 25, 30 teams, no problem for these things. And we did rib and chicken wing this year just to make it a little more fun, payouts on each. And it's actually getting a little bit of steam. There's other people now interested in doing it. So we got a couple other, summer rib burns up here that are catching on with it. But it just takes people willing to do that want to do that. And we do it because we just all like to see each other and cook ribs for money and bragging rights.
And dollars.
Dollar bills signed.
Got to get the signed dollar bills.
So what's the story with the signed dollar bills? I'm not familiar with that story.
Oh, man. We just do it. Hey, you go up to somebody at a rib burn, you go dollar bet. And,
usually it's somebody talking.
Somebody's talking smack. They maybe won a rib burn or two or gotten close. And
the best dollar bet we had was with the barbecue bus.
That was in a regular comp.
That was in a KCBS comp.
Warsaw.
We did $1 on brisket. And it was a double, and it was on the Saturday comp, the first comp. We get to awards. They're calling awards, and they didn't call Brendan or I. And they get down to second, and the rep holds up 2 180 stickers.
There's a tie for a 180
and
brisket.
They say tie for brisket, both with 180s. Second place goes to the barbecue bus. Brendan walks up there. As he's walking up, they said first place, Kevlar barbecue. He stopped and pulled the $1 out of his pocket.
Right then and there.
We both had 180s, and they went all the way to the computer, and they had to do it with a coin flip.
Oh, wow.
And that's how
He's
I won
saying
that
here that he's got
from,
more of those dollars, though.
I got it right here.
That dollar bet, I'm telling you, that's a big deal. A lot of we'll at these rib burns, we'll pack an easy ups.
Cool.
And there'll be 3 or 4 teams sometimes in a 10 by 20 because it's 10 degrees outside. So we have a prep area heated, and we'll do $10. And everybody puts $1 up in the tent, but you got to sign that day. I say you got to sign it before you even put it in. That way, in case somebody tries to run off, because every now and again we've had a guy run off when there's been $1 bet on the line. You might as well have $100 bet on the line because that baby goes on the plaque usually. And I got a lot of first place rib burn trophies, and there's just dollars all over them signed,
It's bragging rights.
It's all
Just bragging
fun.
rights.
It's good fun, man. Everybody should do it.
Cool.
Yeah, that'd be something cool to start. So what's this Jeff is asking here? Ask Matt about owing you daddy.
Oh, that's a good one. So Jeff just started. That's Booyah Q.
He didn't do that with us,
I
did
don't.
he?
No, we didn't do one because That's a tough
You
one.
daddies,
You
they do
daddies.
that on the outlaw. What's the race show on TV?
Outlaw the drag race show.
Yeah.
Anyways,
If you
did.
lose, you got to give somebody a you daddy. So when they ask, hey, who's the best racer out here? You have to say you daddy. So it's the same thing in barbecue.
So they lose your chicken or something. You go, hey, Jason.
But he doesn't have that with us.
Who's the best chicken cook? And you got to go, Matt, you daddy. That's pretty.
If you
but
lost.
you got to go dump it on them in a public place where there's a lot of people around. So they got to say it in front of people. Not everybody really understands what's going on. So it's like, you daddy. That's a good one. And I'm very careful about getting into that.
You know, Richard brings up a good point here. And y'all talking about earlier, because I don't think your rib burns are sanctioned contests. I think they're non-sanctioned events.
They're
correct?
non.
They're
Yeah.
non.
And I think this is something that really is a good kind of conversation about that is I think as the pro contest and stuff here, we're so focused on sanctioned contests because we're going through the points or we're going for a jack draw or we're going for American Royal draw. We're going for the contest to be able to kind of go to that invitationals and stuff. But I think that non-sanctioned contests, let me back up in here. One of the biggest advantages of being a sanctioned contest is actually the reliability of the judging. Because we know we got an idea of what judges are going to show up. So we know kind of what our flavor profiles will be. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages of having a sanctioned contest. Now, that being stated here, I think one of the biggest advantages of a non-sanctioned contest is to kind of do like y'all did as far as kind of like what you said earlier with your first contest is kind of to build the desire into it. I got a guy locally right here, a friend of mine, and he done a little local contest and GC'd it. Now he's like, I want to go cook with you and do a GC and do a KCBS contest. I'm like, all right, well, just understand this is a little bit of a different ball game,
Not
but
the same.
it's not the same. What you cook at home is not what you turn in for these contests. But Brian, if you're watching, come on anytime you can. But I think that's a good point to make is go out there and just have your friends get together and do a contest. I mean, SCA, I think, is the best source for that in the world. Come out there and do a steak cook-off together. And they got to be a full 4 meat category. So, I mean, just get out there and just start a passion for cooking, and then it'll all change and go from there.
Well, that's nice because you can throw everything in the back of the truck. You don't have to pull the trailer.
Saturday, in and out.
You drive in, you cook, and you leave.
Now, one thing that nobody tells you about that, the glory days and the glory of it, you got to put all that stuff back in your truck. Ain't nobody there to load it in. And
Nobody bitches about cleaning and loading up more than me.
there's no drawers with magnets on it. You can just throw stuff in and strap it up and go. The first time I did it was summertime in a parking lot. And man, I was sweaty and I was beat. And I was like, God, I got all this stuff. I got to, and I got, of course, full size bed, on a dually. So like, it's not just like setting it up in there. You got to climb and put everything in there. Yeah. And it's going to be hot this weekend. Looks like it's going to be another one, but this one's on grass, not in a parking lot. So that's fun.
Thanks, Jeff.
Oh,
Matt, Jeff has got your number or something. Hey, Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
right.
I love your logo, man. I love your new logo.
Right. I heard we qualified for the championship this year in Fort Worth. And so down there, they said last year somebody got a first place qualifier in the first heat and had a piece of string and got DQ'd. And to go that far and to get that far in it at the championships and get DQ'd for something like that is like, oh.
I've done all the screw ups.
It just happens.
That's a heartbreaker.
It just, it happens. You get going. I won the woodpile rib burn on the second one. I go to Kevin. I'm like, man, look at this 10 bone box. I'm showing him the picture. 10 bone box, man. This baby's a beauty. And he looks at me. He goes, there's 9 bones in the picture. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, oh, shoot.
At least it wasn't 6.
I had fat bones and skinny bones, but they just lined up good enough. And I just
Yeah, man. That stuff can throw you curveball in a hurry.
Yep.
Definitely do it. So, before we get into your GC this weekend here, let's back up a little bit. So last year you were talking about earlier about you went to the Jack. Explain the Jack and explain the entire experience of the Jack 2 years ago.
Yeah, the Jack was 2 years ago
For us, yeah.
For us. Did
Yeah,
you
y'all
go
talking
to the
about earlier
Jack,
that y'all
Justin?
got-
I've not made it there yet. Fingers crossed we will.
So what was your question? I'm sorry.
About the experience at the Jack.
So when y'all was doing, because the Jack Daniels is something that a lot of people talk about. I know y'all talking earlier that y'all won second place at the Jack Daniels and 2
Right.
years ago. So explain the whole concept as far as the Jack itself and how that is so important to get a call at the Jack. It's kind of what I was wanting to talk about.
Well, they only pull one team from each state that you have. If you win, well, almost. If you win a GC in a state, whatever teams are in, have won GCs for that state, they pull a bung out of the bag. If it's a home team, in our case, we were a Michigan team. We won a Michigan GC. We got to go to the Jack. I mean, that was it. I guess if they pull an out-of-state team, they will pull a in-state team too. Home team to go.
So to clarify this here, so basically what the Jack wants is that one team from every state be represented at the Jack Daniels.
Right.
They also have the international side of it. So if you win a contest, let's say I can't win South Carolina. I've done one, but most of my wins have been in Georgia. So if I get the Georgia's draw, and then somebody pulls a South Carolina, another South Carolina team can go if they win another they get pulled out from another state. But if nobody from South Carolina gets drawn and the GCs are in there, then they just pull one out of that kind of a wild card barrel. And at the end of the day, they're actually doing a wild card in addition to that. So they want to have at least one team from every state to go to the Jack Daniels, not including the international teams.
Yeah, we've only gone once, so I don't know all the ins and outs of it. So,
but that's it. It's tough. I mean, so just winning the GC first, you got to win the GC, and no one's going to act like that's easy because it's not. I don't care how many you've won; it's not easy to get a GC. And then to get drawn because there's a lot of other really good cooks, and we had a few Michigan comps, so there was a drawing per se for our state.
There was four bungs. We had two.
We had two of them,
so we had a 50% chance, and we won it. But I mean, to put this in perspective, I think it was Sterling Smith or that was their first time being at the Jack. All the years that he's cooked, he had never been to the Jack, and we got it the first chance that we had. So I mean, we were very fortunate to be able to go when we did.
Wow, that's wild.
And then to go down there and the whole experience, you
Luke
go down
Darnell,
there.
I think he said his was first time too.
The distillery tour, the Bobos, and Barbecue Hill, and we did the parade, the Cook's Parade, and all. They kind of make you like a celebrity in a way down there. They're really, I mean, the hospitality is awesome. They don't want you drinking, so you got to be really careful about that. They make that well known at the Cook's meeting, and we like to kind of get loose when we start cooking. So, but anyways, we behaved, right? But
we were good.
But we went. We had a lot of friends and family that went down there. We made the drive, and we took a family of mine, good friend of his, with us, kind of as a third man, just to help out with some extras, so we could kind of just enjoy the cook. And we did it right. I mean, it was fun. And we got a second place chicken call, so we got a barrel head, and we got 10th overall. So for a Michigan team to go down and do that's a big deal.
And hey, it's a big deal for anybody, not just a Michigan team. It's one of the contests you go to. You showed up, you done your job, you're successful at it, and you're able to go from there. So this past weekend, y'all won the GC contest. It's not your first GC. You've won a few in the past. I think you said you had 4 total. Yeah,
it's our fourth one, and it's my 50th competition too. So I won the
50th competition. Done 4. Yep. That's 4 GCs. That's pretty good. It's good odds. So tell us about the process.
What's that?
Tell us about the kind of the process y'all went through, as far as kind of like not recipes, but kind of like did y'all feel like y'all had a good chance, or was it kind of something out of the blue a little bit?
It was a good cook. we hit all our marks. We weren't behind on anything when we were on our timeline and our brisket was probably going to be done, at 10:15, whatever it was. When we opened it up and we probed it, it was perfect. And it was just like all our timelines were on spot. When I built the boxes, I always say you can't get a 180 without appearance. That's the first thing. And I don't like sawtooth rib boxes, where they line them up straight, but they're, the ribs were on an angle cut. You know what I'm saying? I'll cut one bone tip to the other bone tip just so I have straight bones in the box. And I liked all the boxes we made this week.
Mhm.
We definitely, pork has been our worst category. And we finally got flavor into the pork.
We've been working that pork.
And
I've
we
been
were
practicing it. He's been practicing it. I had a spring fling competition while he was down cooking with Heath in Mississippi. We did a little divide and conquer, and I did this local spring fling we do with Great Lakes Barbecue Association, GC'd it. But I had a second place pork call. My jaw hit the floor because we don't get pork calls that off. We've gotten one or two, a couple before, but it was the new process. Great Lakes Barbecue Association, really quick, has a barbecue 101 class that's pretty cheap up here. And the local team of the year program, the first place team.
Well, it's 5 states. It's not local. It's 5 states.
Correct.
Every state that touches a Great Lake: Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. So
the top cooks from each category. Thank you. No, you should explain that. Actually, the top cooks from each category actually teach that category in the class. This thing's $175.
It's a fundraiser for our Great Lakes Barbecue Association. That's how they make. That's one of their main fundraisers for the thing.
If you're thinking about getting into barbecue, it's a great class. So we went and taught ribs because we had team of the year ribs and brisket for our Division 2 last year. And we taught ribs, which is a blast to do. But I was paying attention, obviously, to the other cooks because they're great cooks. And I took a lot out of that class, and we've been playing with things since. And they've started
our nemesis.
Pork was a nemesis. And that's like chicken used to be the nemesis, and pork was a nemesis. Kevin's always been a great rib cook. I become a good rib cook because of him. And the brisket, he was team of the year brisket. When I first started cooking with him, I went and took the barbecue 101 class. He was teaching the brisket. That's why I went, because he invited me. And I was just like, put butter and brown sugar on everything but brisket. and it was just like, I was just taking it all in, drinking from a fire hose. But these classes really do help quite a bit. And we started, the processes haven't, like the timeline we run, that's the program. And we've really dialed in on the timeline. And that's what we run, and things go smoothly when we stick to our timeline. If we get off of that,
we have laminated sheets
everywhere.
Outside by the fire pit, inside. I got a fifth wheel toy hauler with a sectioned off back kitchen.
Yeah.
And that's where the Outlaw goes in, when we transport. And then it comes out and goes under the awning. We close up the back, and that's Jay Craig from Outlaw built me a nice stainless steel table to come up, and
that's the
laboratory. And that's our kitchen. I mean, we're doing everything in there, and we got cards everywhere and timelines set, and we got clocks here and clocks in the other room and
recipe books, But I think Friday, one thing I can say is, last few years, we've been pre-making all of our injections and sauces actually way ahead of time.
I'll make them Wednesday or Thursday and have everything ready so when we go there, we can cruise.
Yeah.
This year, I'm making them fresh. I'll make them I'll trim the meats, but when it's time to inject, I'm making every injection and putting, everything right there. Instead of, and it seemed to be helping.
We sat there in the trailer though Friday, and we kind of dialed in the cook a little bit. There was a couple little tweaks we made to some things, maybe on more of the injection end.
We've done well in brisket. 3 times I've been team of the year for the Great Lakes Barbecue Association, but last year we just fell off, and I've always ran my same recipe. all Heath Riles rubs and I won't say what it is, for an injection. And
Top
it
secret.
just isn't hitting anymore. So we changed a little bit,
Little tweaks.
and we knew we've cooked it enough now. We knew what we wanted to get. And chicken and ribs has stayed the same. Pork, just
We did a couple of things. That was like we made 2 different chicken injections, and we were like, try this. Are we sure? We tried. Dump this. Let's go on this. And it was just kind of that was a little different. Kind of went more back to almost old days where we used to kind of screw around with stuff on Friday night. We don't like really doing that, but this wasn't really the
we didn't go with any of
process
that
or
stuff.
anything like that, right? But
We
it was just like a couple little tweaks. We were like, hey, let's try this. Let's try that. Try to just get a little more flavor in this cook. And it was a well-rounded, we went second chicken, third ribs, second pork, and third brisket. I mean, 4 top 3 calls. I mean, it was just, you have your day, but we really, the best thing, the biggest takeaway for us, we've been wanting to get a 700.
We jumped the gun.
We got a 706.82.
2.8. So they were calling the awards. Jim Hart was calling the awards, and they didn't call the name. They were like, they called the reserve grand champion. Then they said, okay, the grand champion is with a 706. And we knew
that was a big goal, but at that point, right. And we never ever known.
I jumped up and I was like, yes. Yeah. And he looks at me and says, what are you standing up for? He called me out.
Oh.
So I sat back down.
I ran around. I sat next to my wife really quick to put my arm around her. I'm like,
because he jumped up too.
We got it. We were just ecstatic about it's a goal. For me, it's a big deal because a lot of the, Kevin started as long before me, and he's been up and down, and we've been up and down together. But that 700 was a big goal.
We've had 2 180s, one in chicken, one in brisket, and we've never had a 700. We've had a 699 or 698.
Yeah, something close.
Oh,
and that we set that as our goal this year for 700, and I jumped the gun.
It's a big accomplishment, though.
It's on video. My girlfriend videoed it. Thanks. I'm sure we can dig that up.
I think we got our first 700 I think about 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year. I think it was 2 years ago, and it was just, like I said, a big deal. Because, this has been like for me cooking and stuff here, we were never just truly consistent. So getting 700 is just like you just wasn't there. But it used to be the point you go into a contest, you get 4 172s, you got a chance to win the contest. And right now, if you ain't got 4 174s, averaging 174, it's right now you're don't have a chance to win the contest on most contests. Some of them you will, but for the most part,
you're top 10. You're gonna hear your name,
right? You hear your name,
yeah.
But you always wonder, like, what are these guys like Brad? Like what are these guys doing? They're standing there all the time, But it's consistent, so it's not a getting lucky on the table thing when you won it that many times. We're here. We're excited about our 180s and our 700, and there's all these teams we cook against that have multiples, and we're just trying to always figure out what's that one little thing. We're right there. We're close, but what's that one little thing extra?
The best way to explain that is if anybody grew up playing video games, okay? And I use the example in something like this. If you go out a video game and you got this like Mario Brothers, you want to go through Mario Brothers and this Nintendo. This is telling my age, a long time ago. You want to take your guy and jump from this to this to this to succeed. Well, right at the end, he falls off. So you're gonna do it again. You're gonna jump, do it again. You're gonna do it again. You're gonna do it again, and finally you'll succeed. And I think it's the same situation with some of these guys that's cooking, because they're doing a lot of contests. They're getting the same quality meat, the same process, and they're getting their consistency down. And therefore, all of a sudden, now they come out and do a contest, and they're consistent. And I feel like that's a lot to do with it as far as consistent. You know what that smoker's going to do. If it's windy outside, you know exactly how to adjust it so you can adjust the wind on the drum. Or if you know what a outlaw, if you got a wind coming in the back of it, you got to do something to stop that. If not, it's going to drive you crazy all day long. But until you learn that, until you understand that fire is hot, if you touch it, it's going to burn you. Until you learn that, your mind's just not going to process it. That's the situation to deal with. And I think that's one of the biggest differences to being success and to being to the success level that Slaps is at, that Brad's at, and these guys are at, is just they've been doing a lot of contests, consistency over the years.
Yeah, that's who beat me in chicken at the Jack, Joe.
I mean, Joe's a dang good cook.
Yes,
hell
he is.
yes, he is.
Mm-hmm.
But if
I'd
you
like
also
to
ask a
taste-
question,
I would like to taste his food.
I think a lot of people would, but
Not at the restaurant. That's what I'm saying. You
I
know,
know.
you don't know. Maybe I've never tasted that flavor that he's given to the judges. You know what I mean? Maybe he's found that one thing.
So what part of Michigan y'all in?
Clarkston, just north of Detroit, 45 minutes.
Yes.
Jordan.
For $700, you can taste Joe's food.
Jordan.
How much does Jordan's food cost?
We hear
That's
his
awesome.
name a lot too.
I could have got it down to South Haven. I should have said, "Hey, let me try your food."
So one other question I got right here, I want to kind of do up here. I'm doing overlay. So what is a taco? Everybody's seen this post we put online earlier about what a taco is. And so give you a little bit of backstory here. We done a video about Smashburger tacos, and we had this one gentleman, or I should say gentleman, I don't know who it was, make a comment that you can't just throw a bunch of stuff on a taco and call it a taco. And the definition for a taco is you take a lot of stuff, you put it inside a tortilla, and you make it a taco, and it's a taco. So in y'all's mind, what is a taco? That's kind of the question I got. What is a taco?
I think it's a Mexican sandwich.
How
A
about
taco
you, Matt?
is a sandwich. You can put anything you want on it.
I agree. How about you, Matt?
I mean, yeah, I eat taco anyway. I had to have a taco every day of the week because all the different stuff I can put on it, man.
Mhm.
I mean, that's it. Breakfast
I
taco,
know,
dinner
man.
taco, American, Mexican.
But think about it. It's just a sandwich.
It,
A sub is a sandwich.
true.
A taco is a sandwich. It
Taco is
just,
a sandwich.
yeah.
But is a hot dog a sandwich?
Whoa.
Well, yeah.
All right. Chicago's going to beat us up here.
Yep.
Wow.
My requirements are a little more strict. It can be in a tortilla, but it can't be wrapped up. That's a burrito. It's got to be a tortilla. It can't be on like a gordita or like a flat crunchy shell. That's a gordita. That's not a taco.
Yeah.
Taco needs to fold. You need to be able to see most of the stuff that's in it and put more stuff on top of it if you want to. Other than that, whatever's in it is in it. If it's
So is there no such thing as a soft taco, Justin?
I mean, it can be soft or hard. It doesn't matter.
So here's the thing about this. We put a video out here about Smashburger tacos. All right. And if you haven't checked that video out, if you haven't tried them, try them because they're really good. And so one of the things, I thought I had a picture of it. So we done this video here of Smashburger tacos.
See, that's a
Now-
taco. Show it
That's
again.
what I'm saying.
How could that
It's
not
a
be a taco?
with a
That's taco.
hamburger stuff in it.
Dude, it's a taco. Like a breakfast
I know.
stuff in a taco makes it a breakfast taco.
Just
That guy's
like
crazy. I don't know what that dude was talking about, man. Like that's a taco like all day, up and down, left and right.
Haters gonna hate.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're gonna put that kind of comment, you're fair game. It's gonna go on social media. It's gonna be out everywhere. And I'm just
don't let us
going
call
after it.
you out because we're going to call you crazy.
But we made these down at Pinehurst. Just had a potluck. We cooked these, and I feel bad. I think I got Justin off kilter because we just worked our asses off that night. But
I was
We
already
fed.
off filter before that. I wasn't ready for that contest by any means. You should have seen how much injection I had before I put the liquid in there. And I knew when I was mixing them, I was like, I don't know, I might be a little too heavy on these, but that's okay. But that was a lot of fun. And I ate 2 of Jason's smash burger tacos, and I'll say that they were tacos like all day long.
I mean, it's just
It
crazy.
wasn't a burger. We had burgers. Like they were on
Yeah.
buns. That's a burger. That's
And we had regular tacos too. I
I
mean,
know.
just ground meat. How's it any different? It's just cooked. It's a smash burger taco.
nothing different. Exactly. Crazy
Hot
people.
dogs can be a sandwich.
Yeah, hot dog can be a sandwich. I'll agree with you.
Hot dogs can go to a potluck in the last minute. You do hot dog burn ends. You got all the right stuff sitting in your trailer. You can make that happen. Or because you got on potluck, not to get off the tacos, but I laughed there because one time we were really struggling, or somebody was really struggling for a potluck item, and we had a box of Pop-Tarts in the trailer. And if you throw those on the Outlaw Smoker, they become barbecue pastries. Quote unquote. we turned them in. I thought they were great.
Fine French delicacy.
You know who used to make a little dessert at every contest they go to with 270s, and that was 270 smokers. They used to make them chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, they
on
make chocolate chip cookies. Yeah.
God, that thing was good.
Yep, that's true. They did that mostly for a demo to show you that the cooking was even throughout, top and bottom of the 270.
Nice.
But I'll take free cookies all day.
I'll take free cookies.
I'd love to judge some dessert ancillaries.
All right. One last question for y'all. So we talked about a little pre-show here, but y'all got to tell stories. The rumor on the streets, stuff I see online, is the pizzas. So tell us your pizzas.
When I like to throw a dinner together real quick or a lunch, and I get these thin crust pizza doughs, and they're very good. But the best pizza I like to make is a ribeye pizza. I'll take a cold leftover piece of ribeye, very thin slice, just thin slice the whole thing. I mix up half A1, half ketchup, and mix it all up, and that's my sauce that goes on the dough. Whole mozzarella, whole milk mozzarella on there. Then I lay the ribeye out. A little bit of just sprinkled cheddar for color. Throw it in the oven. It is phenomenal. And I made a brisket pizza the other day. Did you see the picture of that?
That's what I was talking about here. So is that your signature GC pizza? When you win a GC, you have to do a brisket?
Not usually.
Leftover A9 slices.
Usually it's brisket hash in the morning, but I've had that so much I wanted to do something different. And my girlfriend left right after the comp to drive back to Wisconsin. And on the phone, she says, "You got all that brisket. Why don't you make a pizza?" And it was an A9 brisket. And I cut that thing at it was probably a half-inch thick, the slices. And I made up the pizza, and I laid out those brisket slices perfect. 8 of them on there, 1 per slice. And it was, I wish I could post a picture of it and show you.
Me, a pizza is anything. It's got to be wood fired, man. I go back to.
Well, you just bought
the Outlaw
pizza insert.
Outlaw Smokers made a hot box insert, and it's a pizza oven. If you're on the top shelf, you're at wood fired pizza temperatures, 700 degrees. They got a bottom shelf that's more like an oven, 375, 400, depending. And you run like a normal fire. The thing is cool as hell. And anything in a wood fire pizza is good with me. I mean, I'm kind of a traditionalist Italian pizza guy, but wood fired all the way.
It'd be really awesome in the Outlaw if they made you open a door, you had a pizza insert go inside the door. Then we had to burn the big fire for the whole smoker, bring the whole thing up to temperature. Just got the firebox, the insulated firebox, and a big pizza cooker.
It would be the hot box is where it's at, though. I'm telling you,
that pizza box goes.
It's right there at
right
the top
next to
of
the
the
fire
box, and that's right where that fire comes out. And they make the same box. I run a patio. You got the 2660. That's what we cook in for our comps. Same box fits in each one.
Grab me one of those.
What's that?
The big one.
What's this one? This one? Yeah, this is sitting right here. Sorry.
Dean, now
here's our. You got to show this.
I nicked that. There's a couple other ones right here from last weekend.
Nice. This is our GC. Sorry. My apologies.
No, but we got to take Dean here is picking on you about A1 sauce, but Dean's seriously a pizza man. He got a pizza restaurant, so The pizzas are awesome. I love Recteq too. That's awesome. So y'all want to give a shout out to your sponsors, Kevlar?
Absolutely.
Heath Riles Barbecue for sure, right here.
Thank you, Heath.
Heath Riles, he's awesome. I'm cooking Memphis in May with them in 2 weeks, or next weekend. So I'll be down there running that BFO. Wichita Packing. Andrew Bloom, I've been with him since 2017.
Yeah, these guys right here.
Wichita Duroc ribs and pork butts. Love them. Absolutely love them. The quality is great. Michigan Barbecue Supply. Mark and Kaylee, they're
supporters of us.
Yes,
everything we do.
Great company. Over 500 rubs and sauces in their store. They're a nice brick and mortar store. Do online grills, all that stuff. 33 Mile Bees. That's where our honey comes from. It's a local guy, Phil Kent, a good buddy of ours.
He's out catching bees right now.
Yeah, he grabbed his 6th hive. Somebody called him out to grab the hive, and
makes a couple thousand pounds of honey a year and sells out.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful honey.
Great.
And
honey.
Then Pilots HQ, they supply us with all our gloves for the year, and the black ones too. We like those.
That's right. Gloves got expensive during COVID, so a glove supply, guys, nice to know.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
A paper towel and a cutting board one, I'll be good.
Yeah, really. 10-4 one.
And our families. Our families are our biggest sponsors.
That's really it. The wife,
my girlfriend,
my wife,
Megan.
She's great. Courtney, she's a huge supporter of us. She was actually, what's nice about the GC last weekend. That's in Westland, Michigan. That's our backyard. That's 37-minute drive home for me last weekend. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And the fact that it's close and our families can actually be there, because a lot of times, we're driving so far away, you got to take a little extra time off work and they can't always be there. So to have them there was, it always makes it, just feel that much better.
My mom and sister make every competition. There's maybe 2 in my whole career they have not made.
Yeah. We had a lot of people follow us down to the Jack, the people, family and friends and that, take interest in what we do. And
that's the biggest support.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's having your family, having your, my wife is involved in it, having them been involved in it makes this a lot easier, because without that, it would be a very challenging. By yourself, this thing is old. Cooking by yourself is fine in some aspect of it, but doing it every weekend, it gets old.
That's why we do it. I mean, we're having fun. That's what I would say. When we stop having fun doing this, we're probably done doing this. But it's just a good time. Kevin and I, we make a good team, but we just have fun doing this thing together.
Definitely need to talk to you, Brian. Then definitely need to talk to you. Jess, you can give a shout out yours.
Yep, we're Team DB 180 Dead Bird Barbecue out of Oklahoma. Helping us on the barbecue side and steak side. Team Steak Princess Barbecue also used our rubs on barbecue and steak. And then local honey sponsor as well, Herb's Honey, who actually saw this weekend. He's a cool dude. He used to compete, and he told me that his goal was to win backyard at Memphis in May. And he did that the second year he was competing in 2009. If you can think back how far back that was. And he said, after that, I was done. I sold all my equipment and moved on to my next hobby. So I was like, dang, that's pretty good, man. So thanks to him. Good to see him this weekend at the contest. He was there selling all of his honey as well.
Yeah, and he's got some good product. I used that in recipe this weekend.
Yep.
And again, our sponsors on there, we got Royal Oak Charcoal, Great Charcoal, Heath Riles Barbecue Sauce, Landed Barbecue Store, and Recteq. So we greatly appreciate everything they do with that. If you got any information, you want to find this products, go down below. All the sponsors the guys listed is down below in there, and give them a shout out to them, local honeys. But one thing I do want y'all to do is come out there and just be part of a contest. You see us at the contest, come say hello, come out and be part of it, hang out during Saturdays from about 10 to 1:30, 2 o'clock. We might say, hey, come back later, but come out there. We'll be happy to shake your hand, tell you anything about barbecue. because we want y'all to be part of this situation, because we want y'all to get into barbecue. So we really appreciate y'all coming out there and do that. Appreciate y'all watching. Do us a favor, though. Like, subscribe our channel. Give us a thumbs up. All this stuff will be on podcast. Go to YouTube Music and search Barbecue Roundtable for all our old episodes also. And also, if you want to check out that taco video we just posted out there, we got a new video posting tomorrow. Appreciate y'all watching. See you next time. I got to stay on there so we can download the program, so hold on just a minute. See y'all next week.
Thanks.
Peace.